We have a scene. David Duke, played by Topher Grace Topher. I mean, he was amazing. And can you share with us the phone call you got yesterday?
I'm sitting in my room at the hotel, and let me find it here.
Oh, shit.
This is wild. Yeah.
Wow.
We can wait. There's some good stuff right here. Well, while my brother's looking for it, he got a call from David Duke yesterday. They want to hear it.
Yeah, they do now. Yeah, they got
David Duke called him out of the thin blue air, and you said you guys hadn't spoken in 40 years, huh?
That's right.
40 years? Uh-oh. Is it, right?
This isn't it, but this is another call he made. I haven't even heard this one.
Yeah.
This isn't it, but this is another call he made. Let me see if this will play.
Hey, Ron, it's David Duke. I just wanted to let you know that I didn't play any of the conversation, but I said 2 or 3 times on the show to go ahead and read your book before they go see the movie, and take a look, and you can judge for yourself how the movie is. But so I'm not trying to get you in problem with the movie people. That's not your fault. I mean, you cooperate with them in every way, but. I just wanted to let you know that I did that, and I told you I was going to do that, and I'm true to my word. And so I urged people a couple times, home people, to buy your book and to read it. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that. You can also hear the show if you want to at davidduke.com. There'll be an archive copy available in a few minutes. All right? You take care. Bye.
That is the Grand Wizard, or the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Can you tell us a story about the phone call yesterday? Not that one, yesterday.
I'm sitting in my hotel room.
Go to the mic, Yeah.
I'm new to this, folks. I'm just a retired cop. I'm sitting in my hotel room, and out of the clear blue, my phone rings.
This is yesterday, right?
This was yesterday. And the caller says, Ron, this is David Duke. And I looked at my wife, and she looked at me, and we both got big-eyed, and I told her to turn her phone on to record, and we started a conversation. Lasted an hour. Hadn't heard from David Duke since April of '79 when I made my last call to him. I was just surprised to get it. And we talked about everything. He said he liked Spike Lee.
The kiss of death. That's not the endorsement you want from a hate monger. That ain't what you want.
He said he liked Spike. He had seen the trailer. And to be honest with you, he was very concerned about how he's going to be portrayed in the movie.
He should thought about that a long time ago, but there was a movie.
He told me, he complimented me, as you just heard, about my book, said he had read it, had just finished it, in fact, and had liked it. He thought I was being truthful with my story, and he wanted me to know that he did respect me and that he liked the book, and told me he was going to tell his people, to read it. And at that point, I told him, I said, well, they should read it, but they also should go see the movie. And he said he would do that too. So that's what this call was about right here. This call occurred while we were on the airplane flying here, and I didn't call him back or anything. But during that phone call, we talked about a whole range of issues. He insisted he wasn't a racist or a white supremacist. And with that, I pointed out that he had endorsed Donald Trump, and that Trump is a racist. He did not agree with me, and I pointed out that Trump, as an example of Trump's racism, he wants to secure the Mexican border and stop. He has separated all these thousands of kids from their families for no other reason than trying to find freedom in this country. And he didn't agree with me on that issue either. And whenever he didn't agree with me on anything, he pivoted to something else. I told him that Trump had stated he wanted to get more people from Sweden and Norway because they contributed to white culture, and he agreed with that statement. He agreed with that statement. He said, Mexican migrants don't contribute to white culture, and I told him, there is no such thing, David, as a pure white Aryan culture or heritage. Needless to say, he didn't agree with me and he pivoted. That, ladies and gentlemen, is just a sample of what the conversation yesterday was about. Like I said, it was an hour. He was most concerned about his image as portrayed in Spike's movie based on the trailer that he saw, okay? And I think Spike's going to show you one in a minute to give you an idea. David Duke, as I say in my book, and please go buy the book, read it before you see the movie. You'll have a greater appreciation for the movie if you do. But as I say in my book, he was a very pleasant conversationalist. You wouldn't know, if I didn't tell you this was David Duke, you would probably not feel anything untoward regarding him. But David Duke is like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. When the subject of race comes up, David Duke became Dr. Jekyll, and Dr. Jekyll, rather, turned into Mr. Hyde, and that was when the monster in him was unleashed. And that was the David Duke that I dealt with 40 years ago, having phone calls, pretending to be a white supremacist. You know, we talked an awful lot. David claimed he never used the N-word, and I reminded him, yeah, you did. You and I threw it back and forth all the time.
These nerves.
His response to that was, well, you know, when people talk to each other, they talk in a way that they're familiar with, and he said, and besides, black rappers say the N-word all the time.
True.
And we kept on that subject for a while, and then he pivoted. He kept pivoting. Whenever I pinpoint him, close in on him on something, he would pivot to something else. At one point, I told him, David, I know you're recording this and you plan on using it on your podcast. He said, well, yeah. And I said, just make sure you splice it right. I said, because I will be listening. And he said, okay. And then he asked me to come on his show. And I said, yeah, I'll think about it. This, ladies and gentlemen, was the man 40 years ago who was the dominant figure in the white supremacy movement in America. Right now, in my opinion, he's a caricature of himself. He really is kind of a joke, but he is still a deadly, dangerous threat, okay? You cannot sleep on people like this. You should not sleep on people like this.
Come on now.
He is a racist through and through. No matter what he says or what he claims to not be, he is a racist. He is a white supremacist. He endorses a white supremacy ideology. He endorses Donald Trump, who practically everything he said is devoted towards promoting the idea of white nationalism and white supremacy. I did point out to David that he advocated that blacks should have a separate homeland in America, that homeland being the Pacific Northwest.
It's cold up there.
This is true. This is true. That's part of their ideology. His response to that was, well, Malcolm X and Louis Farrakhan advocated black separatism. I said, yes, they did. I said, but if you recall, Malcolm evolved in his thinking, and Malcolm eventually evolved to the point where he welcomed the humanity of all men. I said, you don't. And he pivoted. Okay? This was the gist of our conversation. The hour, what I thought was an hour of recorded voice with him, turned out to only be 11 minutes. The phone ran out of power. And that 11 minutes, if you had told me that, I would have tried to find it. That 11 minutes is valuable because in it, he acknowledges that all the events in this film took place, that he did have his encounter with me. And I say that because it's important. About a month or so ago, he tweeted that I was a liar, you know. And whenever I hear stories about David Duke calling me a liar, all I have to say is, in my wallet, I carry the membership card that you signed and you gave to me.
You got it on you?
I do.
Can we pull it out?
It's a trip. It's a trip. Yo.
I've carried this card since I received it in January of '79. I keep it in my wallet for two reasons. One, it is a memento of my career. The other reason is if I'm ever in a fatal car crash, some poor cop's going to come upon my mangled black body, find it.
I'm going to read this. 1865 to 1979, Ron Stalworth, number CO 78862, member in good standing for the year 1978, Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. A black man. I told you stuff is true. We're going to show the clip with the magnificent performance by Topher Grace playing David Duke. Get volume, please.